Right, good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name is Nico, and we're going to be looking at some charts today. Today's video is going to be a bit different. It's 9 o'clock right now. We have the UK market just opened a minute ago, or the UK exchanges. So we're going to start seeing volume coming in. I am not going to do any trades today. Instead, what I'm going to do is something that I think is just as important. We're going to be looking at some data coming out. There's going to be data every 15 minutes for the next hour and a half. These are the flash manufacturing PMIs, and they're going to be coming from Europe, France, Germany. We're going to see the UK's manufacturing later this morning, and then we also have the US data coming out this afternoon. And we're going to have a look at how the market behaves during that data, and I'm going to show you guys, hopefully make it clear, the reason I'm not going to be trading right now, which is purely because of the data that's on its way out. So let's see if we can get. Let's have a look at the data coming out quick. In 15 minutes, just a little less than 15 minutes, we're going to have the French manufacturing. We're going to have German. Then the Euro manufacturing is coming out. So this is the combined data for all the European countries. And then also we have the UK is coming out, but the video won't last long enough for us to see the UK data hit. But this is not going to be trading. This data is very likely to move the market. We should see a little bit of jittery, an increase in volatility. There we go. We should see a decent increase in volatility, some unpredictable stuff, and most strategies being used at the moment will, for the next hour and a half or so, should be giving us some false entries, I would say. So it's very likely that our win rates are gonna diminish during periods where there's so much data coming out in succession. And the best for me is when we do have days when there's a lot of data and it's like 15 minutes apart from each other or half an hour apart from each other. These days, I used to catch up on chores and stuff during the morning. The afternoon will be better. I will definitely be trading this morning. Let me just head back here. So after the GBP data hit, which is in an hour and a half from now, after this has hit, depending on how the market reacts, I will start looking at the charts again and start looking for some entries, for some trades to pick up. As a general rule, also to explain to you guys what how I handle data coming out and data releases. I will usually sit through data coming out. So I'll be watching during these data releases. Quite often also when, if they're in quick succession like this, I'll just leave it. But if there's important data coming out, like this today, right? So when we have the flash manufacturing PMI for the US, there's no real data coming out. It's just a once-off event. So what I'll do is I'll be trading during that time, and then if the market reacts violently, I'll give it an hour to settle down. If there's no reaction, which sometimes happens, we refer to that as a non-event. Sometimes you get data gets released, but some of the data might have gotten out to the big traders, and when I say big traders, I mean like the banks and stuff. Then this data is kind of already priced in, and the market doesn't really react to it like it would if it was like it would have if it came as a massive surprise to everybody. Right, so the reason the data after markets move this much when there's data released is simply because people are reacting to it. Okay, so it's not the data itself that necessarily drives the movement when it gets released, but it's people's perception of what the data means that drives it in a certain direction, or cause it to not react. It depends. So when there's data released, there's always three things that will happen. It's either gonna go into a bull run, or we're gonna go into a bear run, or nothing's gonna happen. Right? So you always have those three options. And like I said, when there's a violent reaction, I stop trading because it voids all my indicators, because my indicators, we set periods on our indicators to take into account, like mine is all set to 14 periods, so it takes into account the last 14 candles. So the indicators generate visual data for me based on the last 14 candles. So if there's a sudden massive spike, I basically can't trust my indicators for the next 14 candles, but I also give it some time to settle. So I'll just give it an hour and come back and see if the market has settled. But I do not. I never trade news. I know there's a lot of guys that trade the data releases, but for me, it's 50-50. Sometimes you'll get a massive spike and people will sell on the spike. They'll take some sell trades, but turns out price was just resting a bit and it just keeps going. Other times it will reverse. But for me, that's not a decent win ratio. So I don't personally trade data releases like this. That with the market reacts violently, I don't personally trade data releases. Doesn't mean I say that you can never trade it. Like I say, if there's not a violent reaction, if there's no big massive movement, I will carry on as if it's normal trading, because that also sometimes happens. But the info I get from my indicators then are still reliable. And the data spike is an anomaly in the market. It's not normal market movement, although it's normal for the market. But if there's a massive green candle or a massive red candle, serious violent movement on a data release is not the norm. So I just sit it out and wait for the market to return back to normal. We got 5 minutes left before the data hits. I'm going to go over to the charts. So I'm set up for trading, and if I get good entries before the data hits, I'll still take it. But I will not take a trade just like a 1 minute expiry option a minute or two before the data hits, right? So quite often you will see, as we get closer to the actual data release, we're gonna see the candles starting to dance, for the lack of a better word. You should see a lot of volatility in the candles. So it'll be up, down, up, down, up, down, where the normal movement will be more of a flow. So when we start seeing this, it means at any moment it could go either way. Because what's happening now is a lot of people are starting to open positions, sell orders and buy orders. And then when there's movement, some of these might get hit and then drive the price in a direction for a little bit. This is even before the data hits. So that's why we see candles starting to jump. And it's very unpredictable. So like I said, personally for me, it's best to avoid it. If we get the data now in 4 minutes, the data gets released, the French PMI. If there's no reaction, I can carry on trading. In this case, I will not, because there's 15 minutes later, there's even more. It's the German one, and this will impact a lot more than the French. And then after that, we got the UK one, the European one. This will impact more. And then we get the UK figures coming out a little later after that. That will impact even more. So I am definitely on days like this when there's a very important data release every 15 minutes that has the potential to seriously move the market. I just simply stay out of it. Sometimes I'll watch it for out of interest sake, but I will never trade it. Right? For me, it's too risky. I do know there's a lot of people like just flipping a coin and see what will happen. That's fine, as long as you know that it's gambling, because we do not know what the figures are, and we cannot know before the time how the market will react to the data. There's a lot of people looking at different stuff, so you get different reactions based on a single number. Some might think it's good, some might think it's bad, and if a lot of people think it's good, well, then you start seeing the spikes and stuff. Or if a lot of people is bad or think it's bad, you're going to see the massive movement. So we're going to look at the data releases, and that's all I'm going to do in this video. I'm not going to today we're not going to take any trades during the course of this video. My actual trading will only begin around 11 today. That's in 2 hours, when all this manufacturing PMI data has been released and the market has settled and we're not seeing those massive spikes anymore. That's when I'm going to start trading today. But I do actually enjoy watching it sometimes. To give you guys an idea, NFP, for example, NFP is on the first Friday of every month, and it's the biggest data event in the markets every month, right? So everybody's watching NFP, and we usually see massive movement on almost everything when NFP figures hits, but mostly, most predominantly on stuff that's tied to the US dollar. And I actually watch it every day, but on NFP days, I will not trade the afternoon session. So I will trade 2 or 3 hours of the UK session if the market allows. For me, in that means from 9 to about 11 or 12. And in my time, the US session kicks off at 2 o'clock currently. If they change daylight savings, it'll be 3 o'clock. But for me, it's like 2 o'clock. So at 11 or 12 that day, I stopped trading at all, totally. But I do enjoy watching the NFP hit the market and see what the figures are like. We got less than a minute for the data to hit. Let's see what it's going to do. A lot of people I know would say, oh, but the moving averages are crossing, we're going up. But the market really doesn't care about what any technical indicators say. Data releases are 100% just people's perceived or people's interpretation of the data that's been released. It doesn't care about technicals or anything. We're going to maybe see some movement. We got some ups and downs. See the volatility is increasing a bit, or quite a lot now. We've got candles it's just jumping. And here we go. And this is the reason I don't trust I don't really want to say I don't trust my strategies. But this is the reason I don't trade during data releases. I had enough reason to believe that price was actually going upwards the way it was behaving just before the data hit. And we had this massive drop. And any trade you take here right now will be a gamble. I've been around long enough to know that sometimes you'll see this big red, and then it'll push up, and people think, okay, it's going to retrace, I'm going to take a buy. And then afterwards we just see more red, and you start losing. If you want to take a gamble on the data, fine. Just admit, or just be aware that you are taking a gamble if you take a trade before the data hits, or just or in one of these big moves, if you took a trade here, for example, we had this massive drop here, and this is the reason I really don't like trading data. We had big red. If you took a reversal trade here, you would have lost it. If you took it here, you would have won it, but there's no way of telling if this is going to be the last red candle. For all we know, like I said, I've seen it so many times. You get big red, you get green, and it starts like it's pushing back, but it just keeps going. Then it turns down again and just keeps running. Other times it reverses completely and make new highs. I've seen it done, that you get the massive red spike and then it just keeps pushing past where price was, and it just keeps pushing. I've seen that in my life as well. But this is not something you can gauge effectively in any way. I'm all for people saying, listen, I'm going to take a chance on the data, I'm going to do this or this. That's fine, but know that as long as you know that it's a gamble. Because oftentimes you'll say, okay, fine, I'm going to take a buy on, if it drops, I'm going to take a buy. I'm going to give it 2 candles, and then you take the trade and you win it. And then you win your next one. You're going to get confident, man, I got this. And then you're going to start trading the data a little bit bigger, maybe, increasing your trade sizes, because you've got this, and it's going to burn you. So, I don't do this. This is not something I trade. My indicators cannot tell me anything at the moment, because these values are all skewed now. Because of this anomaly here, all these values are skewed. So I cannot rely on my indicators or my strategies at this moment. I will have to give it, if there's no violent movement, I'll need like 2 or 3 minutes just for my indicators to start catching up and giving me some more accurate information on the market, on the current movement. But by then, on days like today's, by then, it's just in time for the next data to hit. So it's fun to watch, but it's not always that much fun to trade. So like I said, I'm only going to start trading like half an hour or so after the UK figures have been released, because then it's smooth sailing until the US data hits. It should be relatively smooth. So half an hour at least after the UK data hit, will I only start looking for entries, and that's going to be, like I said, 11 o'clock. It's now a little bit under 2 hours from now, and that's the only time when I will start looking for trades. If you guys want to keep an eye on like data, which I really recommend you do, it's the first thing I read when I open up when I start my day. This is the first page I go to, even before I open my charts, just to get an idea of what the day has in store for me, so I'm not caught off guard. A lot of people wouldn't have read this, and they would have been, when this data releases, they would have been freaking out. I don't know what's happening, but what happened in the market and whatnot. And this is what we need to watch, right? So there's a lot of sites that gives these that has economic calendars. I love Forex Factory. Somebody pointed to me to it when I started training, and like, this is almost 25 years ago. These guys have been around for a long time, and I've been using them ever since. I'm not saying the other ones suck. I'm just saying this is my preferred one. You can also, if you want to learn what these mean, you can actually open them up. It tells you what it is. Sorry, there's the measure, and it tells you why you should care about it. What's the where they got the info, all that kind of stuff, and they've even got a history. You can look at a graph for that specific data. So yeah, they give you a lot of information. It's great to learn. In time, you will start to know how to learn everything. But for those who do not know what these things are, it's a great source of information. Okay, and this is every day they've got this. What you call it, the calendar for the day. I can even, if I want to check tomorrow's. They're not paying me for this, by the way. It's important to keep an eye on data. And this site is just, it's got it all for me. It's not, they're not, what you call it, they're not broker orientated, they're data. So they just focus on delivering data. So yeah, this is a decent source of your decent source for an economic calendar. A lot of brokers have it built into their platforms as well. I just find them in general not very user friendly. I like to go on Forex Factory and read up what the data is and how it will impact if it hits, what to look for, and what it shows and what it determines and so forth. So that's a good source to get it. But there's a lot of places you can get economic calendars from. I know there's like investing.com has got a lot of data. Also very nice website. I just don't like the UI that much. But it's definitely, it doesn't matter where you go, something you need to keep an eye on so you're not caught off guard while you're trading. Especially for short-term traders. If you're trading off a 1 hour or 4 hour chart, it shouldn't affect you too much because you're trading Forex, you've got stops in place, so if your trade goes against you, stuff like that, you don't worry too much about the data. But it's also important, even if you're trading Forex, it's important to know that, if there's important data on the way, because if you took a buy trade here, for example, just before the data, you would have been well in the red. Although this move isn't that big, it looks big on the 10 seconds. If I go to a 1 minute, it's not going to look that bad. Just a little gap there. And then on the 5 minutes, it should look even less so. See, so it's not a massive gap really. But you do not want to enter buy trades or sell, or either one. You don't want to open trades just before the data hits, unless, again, like I said, if you go from this perspective of, I'm going to take a buy here, I'm going to put a stop loss here, and I'm going to wish for the best or hope for the best. If you want to do that, I mean, that's fine. But it is gambling. There's no way any strategy will be able to tell you before the time how the market will react, right? So it's fine if you want to do it. Just know that it could go well, horribly against you as well. If you're in a Forex trade, if you're trading like 1 hour and 4 hour charts, if you trade a 4 hour chart, for example, it will not be strange for you to sit in a trade for 2 weeks or so. And data releases shouldn't affect you that much then. If you're already in a trade and it's green and you've already moved stops and stuff like that, you don't need to close out before data, right? I just wouldn't never recommend taking a trade just before the data hits, and that's why it's important to know what your day holds for you. Most days are very uneventful. We don't have a lot of data, but we do have days where there's, like today, where there's a lot of data coming out that's really affecting the market. Those days you just need to know it's coming, and not be caught off guard, and unnecessarily lose money because you didn't know there was data on the way. Also, that I'd speak of data, but it's a lot of people will say news. A lot of people call this, there was news. It's, well, technically not news because it's expected. We know the data is being released. We just don't know what it is, but it's not something that's gonna take us by surprise. So yeah, this is how I handle data releases when I'm trading. We have the data coming in 4 minutes. The German data is going to hit in just under 4 minutes now. I'm not going to wait for every single piece of data to hit. because that's just going to be like a long boring video. It's because it's still in an hour before the UK data hits. That's just going to be a long boring video, and I'm not going to be doing any trading, like I said. But I thought this would be a lot of places will tell you how to trade. There's a lot of I don't know. All the videos I'm doing shows you how I'm trading. It shows you what I look for and whatnot, and that's great. It's important to have a good strategy and to know when to relax with your strategies. But it's also really important to know this. Keep an eye on data on data coming out that's going to heavily affect the market. Keep an eye out on for those so you're not caught off guard. If there's a lot of data, it's safer not to trade. It's safer to sit on the sidelines. It's always safest to not trade, right? So remember, you've got two jobs as a trader. You have two jobs and two jobs only. Your number one job is to protect your capital. So that what you have, you do not want to lose. You need to protect your capital. And your second job after that is to grow your capital. Right, so we can't focus on growing if we don't know how to protect our capital. We have some hidden divergence here, by the way. It's a very nice setup. This is a very nice hidden divergence setup. And ordinarily, I would actually trade this. But I am not going to do this now. We've got 2 minutes until the German data hits. So I am simply ignoring any entries my strategies give me at the moment, because if I take a 1 minute trade now, it's going to be 1 minute it's going to close 1 minute before the data hits. And we saw how we, just before the previous data came out, we saw how the candles started jumping and whatnot. So even though I had a nice entry, and even though it looks like it would have won if I got it properly, how many is that? 2, 4, 6. This would have been dodgy, because this would have been the closing candle. So if I didn't get in very high, I would have lost it anyway. Okay, no, 1 minute left. So even though I'm getting nice entries, there's no way I'm taking them. Not at this moment. It's important to know when to sit back and not do anything. And this is one of those times. In my opinion, when there's data in quick succession, you cannot navigate in between those data releases. You cannot pick up trades in between 15 minutes of data releases, especially if the market actually reacted, because your indicators and strategies are void for a period of time. You cannot rely on them, because we had the anomaly priced in as well on the or taken into the calculations of the indicators that you're using. So we cannot rely on our strategy when this happens. When we have moves like this, I know my strategies won't give me accurate setups. Where are we? 10 seconds left. So let's see what happens with the German data. It's gonna hit now. Here we go. Okay, so we've got the opposite reaction of what we saw with the French data. And a lot of people, I'm willing to wager that a lot of people now thought that French was red, next data was going to push even more, and a lot of people took puts here, took sell trades, and there we go. Gone. All right, so it's not magic knowing this. It's just you need to go and keep an eye on the economic calendars. Like I said, before I even open up my platforms every day, that's my starting point. I go, sit down, read what's coming today, so I do not get caught off guard. If there's a lot of data coming in quick succession, like we have this morning, usually I would catch up on chores and stuff and not even bother watching. And then big events like the NFP or what's the other big one? I'm drawing blank now for a second. anyway, so the other big ones, I actually sometimes watch them, but the same rules apply. I do not trade. I stop trading before they hit, well before they hit, not like a minute or two, like an hour or so before they hit, especially if it's like NFP, you know, or the other one, retail sales. Those tend to move the market violently, and people get skittish before the data hits. So, you know, those ones I keep an eye on. I like to watch the reaction, but I definitely don't trade it. So I hope this helps. There's a lot of people sending me mails, asking questions, and it is very important. This is the other side. It's important to know when not to trade. So it's the other side of trading. It doesn't help if I have a good strategy, but I get caught in events like this and lose money because I didn't know there's data coming out, and I didn't know that my strategy, or I didn't know that I cannot rely on any indicators or strategies, technical strategies at least, when this data releases, or you know, that I need to wait a bit after the data releases because I didn't know that I cannot trust my indicators and stuff like that. So that's why I made this video today. It's I think it's actually great that we have a news day like this today, and yeah, that's it. Like I said, guys, no trading for me at least an hour and a half from now. So yeah, I think that's going to be the video today. It's half an hour. I'm not going to, there's only so much we can discuss on data releases and so forth. I'm not going to just sit and watch now, because I think the next data is only an hour from now. Yeah, it's an half an hour. It's in 30 minutes. We've got the European flash manufacturing coming out. I'm not going to wait for it, because I'm just going to sit here and start repeating myself probably. And bore you guys to death. I hope this helps. It's also part of trading. It's also stuff we need to know. So I hope this helps for those of you that didn't know about this, or maybe didn't understand why the market's moving like that. You can head over to Forex Factory and go read up on exactly what this data means, why it's moving the market, you know, stuff like that. That's for your own research. I'm not going to explain every, you know, the different kinds of data and what they mean and stuff. That's the information is there. You can very easily find it. But yeah, keep an eye on the economic calendar, and if there's on days like this, be really careful. Just really be careful. I think it should say enough, the fact that I'm not trading. I'm not even going to try until the data releases has passed, and then we'll, you know, like I said, about an hour and a half, I'm going to start looking at the charts again and see if I can pick up some trades. Okay, guys, have a great day. I'll see you guys tomorrow with some news. Hopefully exciting news for everybody. But I do have some news. I'll clear that out tomorrow. I've got an announcement coming tomorrow. So yes, we are doing some stuff. And hopefully it'll get you guys excited. But until then, have a great day. Trade smart, trade safe, and I'll see you all tomorrow.